Welcome to my new channel. Now, I'm sat here today on the hottest day in England probably ever recorded, and I'm sure some places will get to 40, 41, even 42 degrees today, and it never gets this warm in England. There's something wrong. And some people will have you believe that it's your fault, and because you want to drive your car. It's because you want to have your heating on in the winter. It's because you want to use products from all over the world, and your carbon footprint is just making all this weather happen. So the only way to fix it, of course, is to throw money at it and take that money from you and charge you more for everything that you want and everything you want to use, and then it'll go away. Of course it will, or whatever I want to tell you. Now, the stories we can't do a great deal about at the minute. They can say what they like. The only thing we can do is try and control what happens to the money that we do get, and the money that we have to spend, and the money that we need to buy food and to feed ourselves and our families with. So I thought I'd give you hopefully a few hints and tips over the coming videos as to how to stretch that money out, and how to make some nutritious, tasty food and not break the bank doing it. We're going to go out shopping. We're going to see what we can get, and see if we can't make that money last a little bit longer. I'm not going to use any special techniques. I've been a chef for 30 years nearly now, and I'm not going to try and show you how to do anything that everyone can't do. I'm not going to go buy any ridiculous equipment that's going to cost you a fortune. I'm just going to use the most useless knives I've got, to be perfectly honest, and my old pans. The only thing I might use that's different is I've got a little cast iron log burner outside that somebody made for me quite cheaply, and we'll probably cook a few things in and on there. But you can do the same on your barbecue. You can do it over a small campfire in your garden, as long as you do it safely. I'm just going to make some bread. We're going to make some soups. We're going to make things that you can stretch out, and hopefully we'll make that money last a little bit longer. So let's see what we can find. Let's see what we can make. Let's see how much money we can save. So the next thing we're going to think about is what we're going to buy and where we're going to buy it. We need flavour, basically. Anything we're going to make is going to need to taste of something. You're going to have to want to eat it. There's no point making something that tastes nasty. Stock cubes. Get yourself plenty. These are, they've gone up to like 45, 46 pence a packet, but there's 12 in there. You might not even need a whole cube for some of the things. Some of them you might need, depending on how many portions you're making, you might need one or two. So they're cheap, but you don't want to be just using salt and pepper. It's alright, it does the job for a certain amount of things, but you need a bit more boost. And this is going to be quicker than making your own veg stock and messing about and things like that and storing it. Don't bother, just get some of these. The other thing is this stuff, which inside this bag. Dehydrated potato, smash, whatever brand you want, get that as well. These are 4 bags for £1 if you go around most shops. Places like Farm Foods sell them, even B&M, something like that. 25 pence a bag, but it's invaluable, not just for making mash, but if you're making soups, sauces, things like that, you're going to be able to thicken them up without using flour and messing about with making a roux. Dried potato, if you're making a soup, perfect. When we're doing soups, if you want to bulk your protein content and your fibre and things like that, make it worthwhile eating the damn thing. Soup and broth mix, plenty of dried peas, lentils, wheat, barley, all sorts of stuff in there. Excellent stuff, really good for your bowel health. And it's filling as well, helps bulk out some soups. I've just been to Heron Foods. I don't normally go to Heron Foods because I just don't. I've got some bargains in there. Go check them out. Things like this, a bag of pasta, 500 gram pasta. It's not a sort of pasta that maybe you'd normally eat. Look at the shape of it. But it's decent pasta. It's not the cheapest of the cheap. It's a nice quality pasta. 20 pence a bag. So I've got plenty of them. 20p. They do this one as well. It's like spaghetti or linguine, but if you can see down there, there's a hole in between it. So it's almost like a tube. It's like a long thin macaroni. Again, 20p. Get them in, because you're going to use them in soups, in stews, as a standalone pasta dish, whatever you want. It's going to cost next to nothing. Also in their frozen thing, I mean, there's 50% extra free in these as well. There's 9 fillets in there, £1.50. It's not chopped and shaped. I had a couple the other night and they're actually half decent. They're not dissimilar to KFC strips, but £1.50 for 9 of them. You know, 18, 19 pence a piece. Absolutely cheap as chips. I'm not known for buying normally things that are pre-prepared, but you know, it's not worth the effort of going to try and find probably 250 grams of chicken there and then sorting out breading out and messing about with eggs and or buttermilk or whatever. For £1.50, don't bother. Get it in your freezer and they're going to be there when you need them. Something quick, something easy, but it's going to be filling and it's got protein in it. Right, so what we're going to make, I mean, it's a red hot day. I don't really want to be cooking anything massive. But I'm quite hungry. I'm a bit sick of sandwiches. I'm a bit fed up of salads. So we're going to use up some stuff out of the fridge. I'm going to make a soup, just a quick soup that's going to have plenty of energy in it, plenty of fresh stuff, some carbohydrates, plenty of protein, and hopefully plenty of flavour. I'm going to try and use up this bit of a loaf of sourdough as well, which is pretty stale now, but we're going to use that as almost like a rusk crouton type thing, and bulk it out. So I've got not much in my fridge at the minute. I'm not buying much because I'm just buying what I need apart from long-term storage things, just that I'm getting in bulk really to save money. I've got a banana shallot. Now this has been in fridge for probably 2 months. I will make something with it, but never got around to getting the meat to go with it. But all I'm going to do is just cut it pretty small. This isn't not going to be like a chunky veg that we need in the soup. So all I'm doing is chopping it up rough. That's it. Done. Slight interruption. We'll continue. Okay, so I'm only chopping this up roughly. I'm not bothering to make fine dice. Get that out of the way for now. We could use that for stock if we wanted, that peel, but we're not going to. Bit of garlic. Now bear in mind I'm only making this as one portion for me. There's only me here that's going to eat it, so I'm not going to make a big pan of it. Some of this stuff, obviously, I'm going to have to use the rest of it in something else, but for the purposes of today, we're just going to use what we need out of here. So the first thing, before you get any pans on, get everything prepared. So we've got bread for later. I've got some chives. Ooh, knives on the floor. Rinse. Chop these up roughly. In fact, you know, I'm going to tear them. What's the point? It's good in the soup. Right. I've got some dehydrated potato. I can use that for thickening. I've got some canned new potatoes. These were, I mean, you know, proportionally to normal potatoes, are a bit more expensive. But it's going in soup again. So you're not looking for a prime potato. And also it's going to save me a lot of time and a lot of gas in cooking. Sliced carrots, 20p a tin. Again, we're not going to use them all, but we are going to use a bit of the liquid that's in there. Some of that strange shaped pasta that we got from Heron Foods, again, 20p a bag. That's going to make the soup a bit more filling. Celery. A lot of people don't like celery, but it does provide a lot of flavour. If you don't want to put the big, you know, some of these big stalks in, what you really do want, if you have a good rip around in the middle here and pull the middle out, there's so much flavour in there that you're not going to get from dried seasoning. Amazing flavour. So what we're going to do, we're going to get some gas on. All we're going to do is lightly saute them in a little bit of butter, fry them even, let's call it that. Get my pan on. I'm not going to go high heat. We don't need no raging infernos. We don't want to. You want to use as little gas as possible. I'm going to have a look on my trusting meter afterwards to see just what we've used. Now, a little bit of half butter, half veg oil, because it just, for me, it saves money. don't use that much of it, and it stays in the fridge, so the price of butter's absolutely skyrocketed recently. And although you're not getting, full butter from that, it's a big saving. Right, celery again, I'm chopping it rough. These bigger leaves, I want to leave them quite big because they are quite nice. It's almost like a leafy veg. I'll put these straight in there. And also this little bit of garlic. Now, we don't need to cook this a lot. It's going to be a fresh soup, almost like a hearty minestrone. What I'm going to do is move everything now that I need along and turn you around a little bit. Right. So, I'm not mucking any further cutlery. I'm just going to use the same knife for this. Let's give this a quick stir. I made a bit more heat to get that warmed up. While I'm doing that, we're going to get hold of the kettle, give it a shake, and I just want to boil just as much water as I need. I'm not going to fill the kettle up because I don't need a full kettle of water. Try and get into the habit of just using what you need and try not to overuse your gas and your electric. Again, ideally, I would make a bigger pan of this. If I'm going to use all this here, I may as well make a pan that's going to last 2 or 3 days. It's going to be enough for 4 or 5 portions even. It's going to save me again. All I'm going to have to do next time is then just reheat it. But for today, I'm going to wait for a couple of days after today, so it's just going to sit in the fridge. It's not going to be great, so we're just making what we're going to eat tonight. Right, so they're lightly softening. There's a couple of larger chunks of celery here that'll probably benefit from being in there. I've got an extra little bit of cooking time compared to the tops. What I've also got, I'm just looking around, some frozen peas. I did have some cannellini beans somewhere, also canned, but I can't find them. I've got that many tin stuff to rummage through, so I'm going to do it without anyway. You can add beans to this if you want to make it even heartier. Right, so while that's now just starting to lightly saute, a little bit of tomato puree, probably just over a teaspoon. You don't want loads. It's not, I'm not making a bolognese. Give that another roll around. Everything's popping out of it. Again, this is an easy one that you could make because you're not needing loads of heat. I can now turn that down. You're not going to need a load of heat. You can do it over a camping stove. You can do it at your caravan where you've got bottled gas and you've not got the same pressure that you've got in a house. So immediately all I'm doing is covering the vegetables that are in there. That's it. I'm not filling the pan up and trying to boil an entire pan of water, keeping an entire pan of water boiling. I don't need to. I only need to be boiling enough water for what's already in there needs cooking. So just move this to one side and we'll fish some of these out and give these a bit of a cut up. Now I have a bit of a guilty pleasure with these. Cold, straight from the tin. Remind me of 1970s. Which, to be fair, that's how things are starting to look again, isn't it? So just hack a few of these up a bit. Probably enough there. So I've used probably a third of a tin, 15 pence worth of potatoes. These will be able to be big cooks, so they're not going to need very long. This one going warming through. Same with the carrots, same with the peas. I don't like overcooking garden peas, but this pasta is going to need cooking. So a bit in there, not loads in there. I don't want loads of pasta. So get that in there. Get a little bit more gas. Again, we're not having full pressure on. We don't need it. So let's move it across again a little bit more. You can see in there. And now because we've added a bit more, I'm going to add some more water. So obviously the pasta's going to soak some of that up. At which point I'm going to stick a veg stock cube in there, so that pasta starts absorbing all the flavours that are going to be in there. Obviously not the celery leaf. And also black pepper. I do like pepper. Add it as you like it to be. Don't go entirely for my quantities. If you like it peppery, put plenty in. If you're not so keen on it, go a bit lighter on it. So we've got that going on. This bread, this is from the in-store bakery at Lidl, the rye sourdough. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hack it up into pieces that I don't have to cut when they're in the bowl. So you don't use a knife when you're trying to eat soup, do you? So again, we're boiling now, so we can turn that down. Using as little as possible. So we've got all these good. These crusty bits are the best bits. They're gonna be delicious. Again, we've still got more of that left. We can use that in something else. It's nice toasted actually, even though it's stale. You can toast it and it's nice. Okay, so I'll leave that cooking for a bit. I'll be back in a minute. Right, we're not now far off this being ready, so I'll put a little bit more water in there, and now I have conceded I'm going to need to use a spoon, unfortunately, unless that's 2 utensils I'm going to have to wash up. So I'm going to whack a couple of spoonfuls of carrots in there, all my potatoes, the celery, chives, and the peas. And give that a mix. So everything now is in there apart from a little bit of thickening and then checking the seasoning at the end. But already, it's going to be a good hearty veg soup. If you wanted this with meat in it, the best thing to do, if you're cooking a chicken, you're cooking, I don't know, any roast meat, any bit of meat that you cook, if you've got anything spare, just put it in the freezer bag and put it in the freezer. So at this point you can throw your meat in there and just warm it through. If it's cooked already, all you're doing is warming it through. I don't eat meat every day. I'm not vegetarian either, but today I'm just going to go with straight veg and pasta. But at this point, you chuck any old cooked meat in there that you fancy, and then you can obviously change the seasoning slightly to cope with that. If you're on a beef, wouldn't I put some beef stock in it, put some Marmite in it, yeah, anything you want, but just using up things that are cheap and perfectly reasonable to eat. Canned vegetables, there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. These are canned from fresh. You can buy some fresh carrots from the supermarket and have a lot less nutritional value than you're going to get from a tin. Same with frozen veg. It's frozen so quickly that it far outweighs the nutritional benefits of fresh ones, unless you're picking them from your own garden, in which case that's about as good as you're going to get. So we're just going to leave that a couple of minutes to warm through, and then we should be ready to plate that up. Right, so everything's cooked. I've checked the seasoning. The seasoning is fine. You can see, these cast iron pans are really worth investing in, because I'm on the low. It's got the lowest setting on now on the gas, and look at how it's boiling. It retains so much heat. They're fabulous. You don't waste, the thinner aluminium ones, you waste a lot of your energy that you're putting in there, but these cast iron ones really do hold. So all I'm going to do is add a little bit, probably, we'll just start off with a small teaspoon, maybe a tablespoonful of dried mash, a little bit more. So we'll go with 2 tablespoons full. Give that a mix. And now I'm going to turn off the gas and leave it. I'm going to leave it there for probably 5 minutes, just so that pasta can fully expand, so that potato can settle down and absorb a bit of that water. Just sticking that up a little bit more. Although I do like quite a thin soup, not a massive thick soup, especially if I'm having bread. The other thing is now I've got a hot spoon. I'll make it even hotter. I'll put it in the soup for a bit. I like butter on my bread, but I'm not going to sit now and butter all these. So I'll put the butter in the bowl that I'm going to use, put the bread in there, I've got a hot spoon. It's a warm day anyway, so the butter's not particularly hard. I'm just going to mix all that round in there. Probably put a bit too much butter in there, but you know, I'm not a thick set guy. I can cope with it. So now the bread's buttered on every side. And that's going to go in the bottom of the soup over the top, and then that's going to soak up some of that liquid, and we're going to have a nice tea there. Right, 5 or 6 minutes have passed. I would have left it for 10, but I'm getting a bit hungry now, so I'm just going to get some of this out. Get all these veg out, because I may not need all the liquid. But there's absolutely loads in there. Look at all this. In fact, let's just pour it in. You've probably got the equivalent of two tins of soup there. Now, that cost, the ingredients on there, even though some of those things are slightly more expensive than they were, 29 pence for the ingredients. I've just checked the meter when I was letting that rest. We used 3 pence in gas. Probably, we'll call it a penny for the kettle boiling. So for 35 pence, you've got what is a big hearty bowl of soup. Plenty of vegetables, some pasta, some potatoes, some fresh herbs. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to really enjoy it. Plus I've used up some of my bread rather than I hate chucking stuff away. If you can find a use for something, then do. Everything you do is going to help cut down the amount of money that you're having to spend. And if you can get into these habits before the winter, when gas bills are expected to rise yet another 60 to 65% on the 1st of October, then you get into these habits now. You're not going to be panicking when the time comes and your gas bills are going through the loft. So I hope, I know we've only made a soup today. We'll make something, lots of other different things over the coming weeks. But if you watched it and made it this far, then thanks very much. I'll see you soon.